What's up, guys? Mason Brock Henderson here, and I'm just gonna be honest. I hardly remember this episode because, like I said in the last review, my internet sucks. So every 5 minutes it would have to rebuffer. So I literally got this whole episode in 5 minutes stop, 5 minutes stop, 5 minutes stop, and the stops were like a minute and a half long most of the time. And near the end it was like minute stop, minute stop. I'm really frustrated. This is going to be my last review for tonight. I'll likely post these tomorrow morning, so these are likely getting uploaded Saturday morning, so that's when you'll see these. Anyway, I gotta try to push past the frustration because this was a good episode. I'm just really frustrated with the internet right now. Anyway, there are three main things that were very important for this episode and for future episodes. First of all, you've got Trish, who decided she's going to help out. I talked about in the last episode, her nosebleed, and I guess I kind of realize now that the training went beyond disarming a gun, or disarming a guy with a gun. So that's probably where she got it. She also has like bruises on her arm and stuff. She's learning Krav Maga, so it makes sense. But yeah, so she wants to help. The lawyer Hogarth, I was right. Just made me feel good for a second. She says she's going to do the interview with Trish on Trish's talk show, Trish Talk, which I still think is a dumb name, but anyway. So yeah, they do an interview with her. It's kind of sad, and I can't remember, like I said, I can't remember if it was this episode or the last episode, but they were kind of talking about how crazy the girl sounds. And the more I thought about it, and, watching Criminal Minds a lot, there are a lot of episodes where somebody's like, the devil made me do it. And it's kind of how this girl sounds to most people who, even though they heard about the Avengers, they heard about this alien invasion, most of them don't want to believe that stuff even happened. They just want to live in their own little world where they're safe and none of that stuff exists. So a girl being mind controlled by some guy named Kilgrave, yeah, it does sound kind of fishy if you don't realize that it's the truth. Like, us in the audience, we know it's true. So, of course, well, yeah, how can you not believe her? But when you really think about it, if somebody in our world where superhero stuff like that doesn't exist, if somebody killed somebody else and said that somebody mind controlled her to make her do it, yeah, we'd probably be saying she's a psycho. So, it is very realistic in that sense that not everybody's gonna believe her. So that was interesting. But Trish does an interview with her. The Hogarth woman, really, I saw what she was doing, and they didn't realize it until after it was over. But she kind of made Trish claim that mind control is possible. That way, she didn't have to say it. So, they're bringing up the fact that this girl could have been mind controlled, but she's not the one, as the lawyer, she's not the one taking the step and saying, yeah, mind control is possible. She made it sound like her client's just crazy. Made Trish defend her. So that was very clever by her. And you see why she's a good lawyer. But Trish has this moment where she really calls out Kilgrave, and Jessica's watching this whole thing and like bursts in the room. It's like, stop! You're gonna make him mad. He's gonna try to kill you. Because she was like completely calling him out, and the next thing you know, his voice comes on the caller. He's the second caller in, and just that moment of just intensity for a second, like time just seemed to stand still. Jessica's face just, she was shocked. She was like, it's him. And Trish could hear it, and she was in shock. the lawyer's listening, like not really sure what's going on, and then Hope, who can hear it, starts going crazy, just like screaming no. So yeah, that was very intense scene. Um, and then later, of course, Kilgrave sends a cop to take out Trish. Um, the camera's like changing tints on me. This is weird. Anyway, he sends a cop to kill her. She's being very cautious about it, but even so, the cop, like, I wonder if he was getting information from Kilgrave, like, somehow, because he seemed to know exactly what to say and what to do to convince her that he wasn't trying to kill her. But her being overcautious, she was ready anyway. Um, but he nearly kills her. Jessica steps in to save her life. So that's everything that happens with Trish. Um, I was completely wrong, and I've been wrong before about some of my predictions, but this is like I completely misread a situation. Um, and I thought I had it completely right. I was like, whenever she first met Luke, and they slept together, and then she goes into his bathroom and sees a picture of a woman. I assume she was crying and like upset and just sick to her stomach because she didn't realize that she was helping a guy have an affair or something like that. No, I don't know why I got that impression. I don't know why she would even care. I don't know. It's just in that moment I was like, oh, so that's why she's upset. Not at all. Come to find out in this episode that first of all you see this woman. Um, when you see her picture again, you realize it's the woman that was injured, that died in the bus accident where Kilgrave should have died. Um, and so you have kind of that revelation that, oh, so she's dead. And the scene that they showed, like Jessica had a flashback to her kind of like, you could see her face up close and her kind of like falling backwards. And in that moment, I realized that Kilgrave made her a killer. And sure enough, later on they show Kilgrave commanding her to kill her. I hope they go back and show why he made her do that. And that's not just some random, like, she just happened to be in the street and Kilgrave wanted to test how much control he had over her by making her kill somebody. But, she's struggling with that. You see all the struggle she's dealing with. She tries to talk to Luke about the possibility of this guy being a mind controller, and he kind of laughs it off. She's like, says the guy with the indestructible skin. But he just kind of laughs it off like it's not real. And so at the end of the episode, she kind of says, look, I can't do this, and he thinks it's because he's got a dead wife in the picture. Which, of course, that's not it, but she doesn't tell him. And then finally, we got the whole Kilgrave situation. Like I said, he sent a policeman to Trish's place to kill her. And Jessica follows him back to where Kilgrave is. Still with the was it a different family? I couldn't tell. Like, it seemed like it was maybe a different family. Now, they didn't look like the same people that he roomed with last time. Anyway, he's watching rugby on TV, and the cop tells him that he killed Trish. Sorry, I don't know what that was. But tells him he killed Trish. He's like, alright, you may leave. And he starts to walk out the door. Nope, the other way. And points to the window. And so he, like, steps out on the patio and is about to step over the ledge, and Jessica, like, pulls him back. And that's when she and Kilgrave meet eye to eye. And that's when they have the flashback showing him telling her to kill Luke Cage's wife. And it's just this moment you finally see him. And like I said, he's not what you'd expect. He's not this totally evil looking guy. He just looks normal. And his voice even is like he has a British accent, of course, so he sounds a bit more refined and all this stuff. But it's kind of high pitched like this. It's not down here and just raw. He just he has a high pitched voice. It doesn't sound threatening. It doesn't sound like he's you know it doesn't sound like he's evil. It doesn't look like he's evil. But knowing what he can do and seeing what he does, just I don't know, it adds something to it, and it's almost like terror in a way that somebody so non-threatening in physical appearance and his voice, he seems so non-threatening, but he is threatening. He's a serious threat, and to know that such a serious threat hides in such a non-assuming package is kind of terror in itself. It's like, well, anybody can do that. It could be the person standing right next to me. I would never know because they don't look evil. They don't look like a monster, and that in itself is very scary. But anyway, they meet eyes for a second, and then he kind of glances back to the cop who's still trying to jump off the ledge. So she knocks him out, which gives Kilgrave time to escape. She then has to fight her way through the whole family that he's staying with, which is like mother, daughter, and a son. No, mother, father, and a son. I don't know why I said daughter. And then she finally finds the room that we saw in the previews. It's her face all over the wall, just pictures of her, which I didn't really know that she was, they didn't really show us a whole lot of what her job was in the previews. I assume that this is her job, like in the comics. So if you knew who Jessica Jones was before this, maybe you already knew she was a PI that took pictures and stuff like this. But I didn't know anything. I wanted to go in completely, as much in the dark about Jessica Jones as I could, just because, going into Daredevil, I already knew who he was. I already knew his powers. I knew how he got his powers. I didn't know everything about him, but I knew majority about him. And it did kind of take away from it a bit. Like some of the stuff, whenever it was introduced, I was like, oh well, I already knew that was happening because I read this and they're talking about the comics or whatever. So I wanted to go into this as much in the dark as I could. And like I said, I read some stuff about the show, but not about Jessica Jones herself, like her character from the comics. So, not knowing that she was a PI that also did like photographing people and taking pictures of people that they don't realize she's taking pictures of them, that translating into she walks into a room and it's full of pictures of her, that's got to be absolutely terrifying. Because it's almost like, the people who... I just had a parallel in my mind and it left. It's like those business tycoons who, have no soul whatsoever, and so they, play with people's lives, they don't give people jobs, they fire people at will because whatever, they ruin people's lives because they don't pay them enough, blah blah blah. If all of a sudden they lost all their money and now they're in that situation where a business tycoon is doing it to them, that's a scary thought. To do something, to be in such control and then have it done back to you. It's just, I can't even imagine. Mainly because I've never been in a situation like that. But also, to me, I would think that would be terrifying to snoop into so many people's lives, to have that control of just being able to take photographs and them not know, and then have it done back, is just a scary thought. The fact that it can happen back to her. But also just seeing how obsessed Kilgrave is with her. There's like one big picture of her face, just a close-up. It was made by like, it's just this huge picture of her face, made by several pieces of paper put together. So it just, seeing that room in the context of the show and not in the previews, it has so much more meaning now. Between seeing how obsessed he is with her, which you could guess from the previews, but also seeing that she has now become the victim of what she normally does. It can have an emotional effect. So, just so much stuff setting up for later. There's one other scene that there are a few characters right now that I feel like, why are they in there? Um, One is Malcolm, which I'm about to talk about because he did become effective in this episode. But then you've got the brother and sister that are into weird kinky stuff that live right above her, and she constantly yells at. And I don't know. They just feel pointless right now. Malcolm felt pointless. It just felt he's the guy who's always high. Every single time you see him. But in this episode, he did have a purpose. She used him as a distraction in the hospital so she can go get some of the drugs that she needs to take down Kilgrave. And I had this moment that I couldn't really decipher when I saw it, because she pushes him into a cart, an attendant, and because he's always high, everybody just kind of assumes that, oh well, that's why. And as she's walking out, she sees him, and there's a guy sitting next to him. I don't know completely what that scene was about. I think maybe she felt a bit guilty using him like that, because she's supposed to be the good guy, and in that instance, she was more the bad guy. Toying with people's lives like that, putting him in jeopardy. Because who knows what's going to happen to him? Especially if they found like a lot of drugs in his system, he could possibly go to jail. You don't know. And it's kind of, it doesn't seem like they're friends at all, but it's still like, he can't really defend for himself because he's so messed up. He's all alone. And so putting him in that situation, I can kind of see why she might feel guilty, because how is that any different than what Kilgrave is doing? Besides, obviously she's not like killing him or anything, but she might have just ruined his life, and that is what Kilgrave does. So I think maybe that's kind of haunting her, that she would go to these lengths just to stop Kilgrave. And once again, like I talked about in the last review, where does her morality draw the line? When is she even has a little conversation? I totally forgot about this because stupid internet. But she even has like a little inner monologue again, which is actually working out okay. Because they don't do it all the time. It happens a couple times to kind of express her thoughts. She's in the hospital. This is before she took Malcolm. There's one doctor, and she's like knocking out one guy to get the medicine to stop Kilgrave. That's worth the risk. Somebody else walks in. Two people, still worth it. Third person walks in. Now third person, is that too far? And then it's a pregnant nurse, and she's like possibly a fourth. And then a security guard walks in, and at that point she's out. So she is debating how far is too far. When do you cross the line? When is it right to cross the line? And how much is too much? And so I think that's kind of what that scene meant. Maybe wrong. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And I'll see you at the next review. Peace out.